live now.
Hang on, is it working?
Yeah.
Alright, sorry about that, folks. We had no sound. Oh, I'm gutted. We've got to do it again. Alright, we'll start again. Alright. Neutral football build-up. Hello, everybody. Well done, Catherine. You're first online today. Just wanted to pop to say in. Missed it live. Oh, no. Alright, Meg. Hello. Johnny Enigma. Right, Quine Arnie. Just place them in random. Doesn't really matter what. With your Ferrari flag and your Italian hat and that kind of thing.
Oh, I wonder what we'll play.
I don't know. Just place them in random. Oh, that'll do. This sounds nice. Ah, it's going to be a feisty one tonight. A brand new... Well, to me, brand new. It's only 200 years old. Look at why the Phleugrians became part of the Anglo-Saxons, alright? Thank you all for joining us. A bit different. We haven't had this song, have we? The second time round, yeah. Yeah, I was rehearsal. Silent rehearsal. Get ready to go see. See. There you go. All right.
Grazie.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. Applause. Very good. Very good. Even better second time round. Thank you very much. Great to see you on board. Loads of people logged on. Excellent. I'll get the chat going. I usually get that computer going so I can see the comments. Right. Because I did have loads and loads and loads of news and stuff tonight, which I want to go through. Oh, I do have to mention the book.
And these cool t-shirts.
Oh, these cool t-shirts, which were... No, we can't buy these. These are a present from Barham. Barham sent us these.
Oh, thank you.
They are the only ones.
Well,
there we
we'll
go.
buy the other t-shirts.
Yeah, buy the other t-shirts instead. Yeah, these are free for... Not free, well... Barham wants to push his book more and sell more of their St. Patrick identified, alright? Oh, yeah, loads of people logging on now. Here we go. Right. I've got this copy again. I do apologise. It's frustrating. I can tell you it's more frustrating for me than anybody, because this book is out. It was printed. I'll listen to this, right? It was printed almost 3 weeks ago. But the machine that puts the covers on and prints the covers was broken. And they got a new machine last week. Didn't quite make it to first in the queue, but we're almost pretty close because we've been nagging for weeks. And these are sitting on the back of a truck now, and the truck is coming here tomorrow morning, and we'll get them straight out tomorrow.
Oh, it's coming out.
Yeah, I'm a bit gutted.
Woo!
I did have a big pile to show you this week.
Finally. Woo!
So I'm already miles behind on emails, so I do apologise. All those lovely emails that people have been sending me, because I'm going to be signing books, and well, I don't actually sign these ones, but if you want yours signed by me, I will do. Otherwise, but of course, Wilson and Blackett really want on them. I'm hoping to get up there soon. But in the meantime, we'll get these books out. It's a big job. Thank you very much for all those who bought books. Fantastic. Very pleased with the pre-sales. And going to hold open the £5 discount for one more day till tomorrow when they come. And then it'll go on Amazon, eBay. And yeah, very fresh off the press. Yes, thank you, Elliot. Right. Now, I'm going to launch in tonight, okay? Because we want to do... That's why I have to get the right button now on. Which one is it going to be? Screen share 2.
You've been commenting history stuff on my account again.
Yeah, sorry about that, yeah.
I'm getting notifications like that, whatever they're wearing on their heads in that cave drawing.
Oh, yeah, Artie's getting loads of notifications now about there. Yeah. I do have to little comment. There'll be a couple of interesting videos this week. I hope you get a chance to see them. The report chat I do with Bob Morgan, looking at Stoke Dry, the paintings on the wall there about the king being shot by people with bows and arrows. The story is Wilson and Blackett go with a version that it's King Arthur being shot by First Nation Americans. I think this was called today.
First Nation people.
Yeah, you know, if you say Indians, you know what I mean. It's not offensive. We're just trying to talk about it. But words become toxic, don't they, so quickly. So, or is it King Edmund, St. Edmund, who, interestingly, by the way, do you know there's hardly anything at all. This is supposed to be the first patron saint of England. There's hardly anything at all about him. Nothing till hundreds of years after his death. It's all very weird. I think if he was British rather than Saxon or Anglo, then he would be considered a myth, in my view. But there you go, controversial. Not as controversial as tonight's show, though. Oh, my goodness. We're going to dive in because two mythical invasions compared, all right? This is... it's not actually straight out of Wilson and Blackett. It's a bit of Wilson and Blackett in here, but I know as soon as I say that word, it's like a dog whistle. People go crazy. I got stick the other day for putting up videos just discussing historical sources and quoting Wilson and Blackett listing the sources. People went bonkers. It's very, very weird. I don't understand it. There is something I was going to put in here. I'm going to mention it quickly. One thing to be aware of, though, and I really like, if you're new to the channel, I was going to put an introduction as well, but we're a bit short of time. But what we got on to is a discussion about the fact that none of this British history is even on the agenda of schools, okay? And I had a couple of run-ins with people this week, and you have to remember some important things when discussing anything in life, not just history, anything in life. Graham King got this message across to me very well. I hope you're watching, Graham. He's just a wonderful spiritual person. And it's if someone does something terrible or says something terrible or rude or offensive to you, that's their problem and they've done a bad thing, okay? If you get angry or aggressive or upset or the way you react to it, that's really your problem. You know, you have to try and deal with that somehow. Because, you know, the old thing, sticks and stones break your bones, words will never hurt you. Or words do hurt you, but somehow have to learn to deal with that differently. And I was going to put some exchange up, no names or anything, but the gist of it was someone came across as extremely aggressive in one of the Facebook history groups, Welsh as usual, where most of the aggression comes from. And instead of reacting, just kept dealing with the facts and replying and giving the information. And it turned out, I don't know if the person was being aggressive or not in the end, because suddenly turned around and said, "Oh, it's brilliant what you're doing, keep going." And it's things like, well, why isn't any of this why isn't any of it peer reviewed? Why don't the government talk about it? Why don't professors talk about it? They could take this very negatively, but sometimes, as in this case it appears, there were genuine questions. Why is it more people aren't doing it? Anyway, I slightly digress in there. I just want to get that across. You know, let's share the love and everything. Okay. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much there. Someone's put there, no offence is intended. There's someone there from an indigenous person from North America. So, there you go. Assuming one important link is correct, I traced our family tree back to Egbert. Well done. Good luck for that, Amelia. Right, anyway. Let's crack on, okay? Oh, I got one little bonus thing I'm going to put in, a little trivia question. And I might actually give a prize for this one. This was sent in by Dixie, and he did find out all the details about it. This coin, I had to mention this coin, alright? First clue, anybody know where, not Dixie, because Dixie found the coin or the reference to it. It's a case of, where do you think this coin comes from, eh? And do you know anything about this coin? And what do you notice about this coin? This has nothing to do with tonight's show. It's just a little trivia thrown at the beginning. If we get some, hope the Romans wins tonight. We'll come on to that in a second. So the things, what do you notice about this coin? Now I've got a bit of a lag probably, and maybe people are commenting. Well, I'll just say what I noticed about it. It took a while to look at it. Oh, why has Dixie sent me this, for goodness sake? Just kept looking at it. Suddenly realised, and look what's on top of the crown.
Oh, it's got the 3 Welsh feathers.
It's got the 3 feathers, which are remarkably like the 3 Welsh feathers, don't they? And then, comments have gone up.
No, that's what I'm just...
Alright, okay, he's setting up his thing. And then, down the bottom, then the words. It says, "I serve," which is remarkably like the Welsh Ich dien, which on a video might mean I serve, but it seems it could do if that's the German. So we've got the Welsh 3 feathers, and we've got I serve at the bottom. So I'll leave that out there and let people think, yeah, African features. Yeah, it's not a British coin. I'll give you that clue, all right? So there you go. It's one to think about. And if someone reminds me at the end, I might come back to it and say what it's from, or it'll definitely be in next week's show. And I'm thinking if someone hasn't got enormous postage costs for me to send something, I will send a free copy of one of the DVDs that with a label written out by Alan Wilson himself. Okay. By the way, I've had a few conversations with him this week. Everything's cool. Everything's fine. Everything's good. So just keep. Aaron really wants me to keep pushing his book. Please, St. Patrick Identified. And if you know any contacts or somewhere I can send a book to help promote it. If you don't know, it's a book all about St. Patrick. Right. Getting back to that discussion I was saying earlier, little introduction, warm welcome if you're here the first time. The point of this is, what I was trying to get across, I sidelined myself. if one person here thinks King Arthur or the Battle of Baden was here in Baden in South Wales, someone else thinks Baden by Bath, let's not fall out over it, okay? Or if Arthurus is Arthur, and the point is these things should be discussed as part of the education curriculum. This is my point. At the moment, it doesn't get there at all. If you go to a school in Britain, Wales as well, history tends to go Neolithic, prehistoric. Next stop is the Romans. Next stop, Anglo-Saxons. Then we're on to Normans, and then it's medieval. And the Welsh history doesn't get mentioned at all. Like, why do we spend so much time studying? Most people went to school in Britain would know a lot about the Egyptians. They know the Romans. They know the Greeks and the gods. Everyone knows about Zeus and all this kind of stuff. How many know about the Welsh mythology or gods, or the Welsh foundation stories, or the astronomy, or the fact that we've got amazing ancient sites in our own country? This is the point. Not whether or not you agree on everything, but the fact this should be the discussion, okay? And what I'm going to do is, part of this fun is to, this bizarre idea that somehow Roman history is sacrosanct and absolutely placed on a higher level than anything else, anything that's British. The British are all myth and rubbish. And so what I want to do is go into this and query it, because why is it that Roman history, and we're going to concentrate on the Romans a bit, why doesn't that get...
Your camera's frozen.
Oh, hang on. Just when I was in full flow. Oh, I hate it when this happens. Thank you for letting me know, whoever that was. Thank you.
It was...
Oh, why isn't it working on? Come on. Why isn't it come back on?
I don't know.
The green light's on. Oh, sorry about this, folks. Oh, how annoying.
I can hear you.
You can hear me all right? You might have to do without seeing me, I think. That's weird. That's so weird. This green light's on, there's just no picture. Sorry, folks, 1 second. If it doesn't work soon, we'll have to do it without pictures. Aha, that made a noise then, that's good.
Oh.
Yes, we're back. Sorry about that. That's weird. I don't understand that. It's like a USB port has just decided not to work at all, for no reason, really. All right. Anyway, so let's just turn the cannons round a bit. All right, we spend most of our time defending, trying to say why British historical records should be looked at, why they should count. Why is it that the history books written before 1700 all talk about migrations and triads and King Arthur and British kings? Shakespeare wrote plays about Lear and Cymbeline and people like this who were part of British history, and then suddenly it all got thrown out, called rubbish, and instead, particularly from Victorian times, we're told Roman history is the measure, and anything that doesn't match Roman history is considered wrong or false. So let's turn the guns around. Instead of defending all the time, let's go the other way a little bit and do a few things that might really surprise you about the Roman records, okay? Now, a lot of the information I am drawing on is from... there's a series of these books. I've got a couple of them now. There's 7 altogether, big volumes, but expensive, not a reading. I got the first one, I got volume 4, because that concentrates more on British history, which is quite interesting, by the way. Right, I'm not going to go into their whole hypothesis, which I don't necessarily agree with, or know enough of, if you like. What they do extremely well in here is they're trying to say that we've been taught a false historical narrative, given a false story. So, if they want to teach you their new version, the first thing you have to do is break down the Roman and Greek versions, okay? So what they do very well, excuse me, fidgeting here, is provide a really good attack, is the best way of putting it. A really good attack of all the stuff that we're told is this amazing Roman history which cannot be questioned or queried or anything. They even go as far as to say that, which I'm not going to go into tonight, there are records that even in the 12th century AD, this will freak you out now, and I don't want to go in too deep because it's a lot to take in. even as far as medieval times, 12th or 13th century, Rome, the greatest city on earth, was little more than a fishing village. Yeah, how about them onions, eh? So,
Wait, what?
yeah, I know, this is going to get people quite stunned, isn't it? And what they argue is that all the great buildings you see in Rome at the moment, Colosseum, all these different places, which I love to visit. I've been to Rome many times, thoroughly enjoy it.
Oh, was that the book by those Russian guys?
The Russian guys, that's right, Fomenko, yes. And this has been written over decades, this research. Started with Soviet Union, more lately with Russian writers. Decades of it, okay? Now, you can hear Arnie crunching on his pizza. That's how neutral we're being today. Our Sunday dinner's going to be a pizza, okay? So nothing against the Romans, all right? Now, then, so what they're saying then is that all the stuff we see, and more importantly for what we're looking at in the history, that was written, was created. It's a fabrication. It was created in Renaissance times. Okay. So before you jump on, we'll just give a few examples, all right? Been watching on there? Just keep that in the comments there. Oh, someone spotted it. Very good, Elliot. He's spotted the coin already. Send me your address and I'll send you this wonderful DVD. Good spot. Yes, the coin was from Barbados. If anyone can also, sorry to interrupt myself here, but if anyone knows why on earth that coin in Barbados has got the Welsh feathers and I serve on the bottom, I would love to know, and so would Dixie. Anyway, sorry, getting back. So this statue, for example, is incredibly famous, okay? This is a statue, it's described as the statue of Marcus Aurelius. Or it's known as the, what do you call it? Not the horse statue. What's the posh word for horse? Oh goodness, come on, hang on. Right. So this is shown as the, come on Ross, wake up. Anyway, Marcus Aurelius, is supposed to have been alive 166 to 180 AD. Whereas the claims were, and these claims are not new claims by the way, these claims go all the way back to, someone we'll come on to in a second, a historian who was publishing books around about 1900, over 100 years ago. And there's also two other researchers, one of whom is called Ross, which is always quite amusing. And they were throwing out the whole thing as forgeries. So one of the problems you have, you see, is that a lot of these things, there's no record of them in medieval times. They just don't seem to exist. There's hardly references to the capital area or Rome itself at all during medieval times. Now, I'm not saying Rome didn't exist. I'm not throwing out the history. I'm not doing anything, so don't panic. But what I want to show is if the kind of surgical testing that British records are put through were applied to Roman records, a whole lot would be thrown out, including the supposed conquering and invasion of Rome. All right. So what the claim is, actually, this is a statue of Octo the Fourth in the 12th/13th centuries, and cast in the reign of Pope Clemens III. Now, the defence against this being correct from the mainstream historians is no, that can't be possible, because for some reason medieval Rome didn't have the ability or technology to cast things like this, these amazing statues. Equestrian statue, that's it, equestrian horsemen, equestrian statue like this. They did not have the technology. So the official line is that there was...
But they did have the technology.
Yeah, exactly, Arnie, you got it. They did have the technology back in ancient times. So the ancient Romans could do all these amazing things. They had craftsmen, they could cast huge statues, perfect likenesses of people. But then they just forgot. The barbarian, the darkness, this idea of dark ages, which we know is nonsense. And then the other problem you have, if you look at a lot of the writers of the time, I'm going to put all the exact references together, just go with me in principle, I can put them up another time, is suddenly the history flips in Rome, and suddenly Rome goes from being this enormous pagan empire, and battling empire, the flick of a switch, it just becomes this kind of massive church, effectively. It becomes a religious centre. No armies anymore, and just there, the popes just keeping the record and collecting the information. But again, there's gaps of hundreds and hundreds of years. So the other thing is, I'm not going to go into tonight, but I'm going to mention it because I think it does make you think, whether it's how much is correct. It makes you think, at least. And this goes for a lot of supposedly ancient buildings, is that if you look at early photographs of photography, really, 1840s and 50s, but really 1880s, before you start get decent photographs, have a look at the buildings that you see for places like Rome, Athens. Athens is a brilliant example. Have a look at the old 1880s, 1890s photos of Athens. They will shock you. Now, what's supposed to be ancient and isn't actually on the photo yet, because it hasn't been built yet, it's quite disturbing. And what's been knocked down as well. Anyway, that's another episode, okay? But what you do is that what's interesting is a lot of the buildings look very pristine and quite new. And what you can see from this evidence is there's been enormous amount of degradation or decay of these buildings in the last, say, what would that be, 140, 150 years, which sounds a long time, but if these buildings are supposedly built BC, or around the turn of the millennium, as it were, they should be over 2,000 years old. So if a building is, say, 1800 years old, it should already be very decayed, and the last 200 years only had a little bit of decay. I know people argue for traffic pollution and things like that, but an industrial age, but it doesn't really explain it when you look at it. But anyway, I'm just trying to get people to open their minds a bit and have a think about that. Right. Oh, this is supposed to come up in little pages there. Why didn't it come up with the animation? Anyway, so I'm just going to read this. This is quoting now. This history of the equestrian statue is truly unusual. It contains many riddles and has grown over with legends. For instance, its author and previous location in ancient Rome remain unknown. No record of this statue existing in ancient times, or where it was. Where was it? All these meticulous Roman records. Why is there no record of this statue? Okay, it was discovered by accident in the Middle Ages. Oh, look, there's a massive bronze statue in one of the Roman squares. The statue was taken originally as a representation of Constantine. So there you go. This is a 1980 article. So the thing I was referring to then, the situation where the new Catholic Church wanted to destroy everything pagan. So this is supposed to have started about the 4th century. Destroy all records, barbarian invasions, everything destroyed, nothing left. So all these things, these masterpieces and things like that, pagan art has been destroyed, and then somehow we're led to believe that it was also being reconstructed and rebuilt. So you can see where their argument's coming from, isn't it? And what they're saying then, their argument is that, their argument is actually that everything's being projected back and history is completely wrong, but let's not go that far, right? But if you look at this person here, Gregorovius, very famous, he wrote the definitive works about the medieval history of Rome, and he notices, curiously, there is not a single monument of any Roman celebrity from the first part of the 13th century remained in Rome. So the argument is that these statues, and it applies to many of the buildings as well, which are supposed to be from ancient Rome, are actually from medieval / Renaissance Italy. Some might even be more, 17th, 18th century. I know, it's quite flabbergasting, isn't it? It does take a lot to get your head around. Right, on to the important ones. This is a statue supposedly Octavian Augustus, which the testing had claimed they'd done about the style of it and the content and all these things you can read about. The way it's done, it's probably from the 17th century or even more recent. These are not 2,000-year-old statues.
It's like a little cherub or something.
Yeah, it's literally a little cherub hanging off his leg. Yeah, it probably is a cherub, yeah. Good spot, Arnie. I'm very glad you mentioned that. Actually, that's a brilliant spot by Arnie there, because that little cherub guy on the bottom would imply a Christian thing, perhaps, and certainly a Renaissance image rather than an ancient Roman image. So, what else we got here? Is everyone saying? Oh my goodness, there's a whole chat going on there. It's very interesting history. So-called state of Brutus, first consul. Oh my god, I'm a bit behind, I think. Anyway, I'll keep on going. You have your chat on there. It's all about history. It's good stuff. I'll try and catch up. Now, this is the one. This is the big one. Although, everything I'm about to say now about Tacitus, or Tacitus, as some people say, applies also to Livy and Plutarch and all these great Roman historians, which are so venerated. If a British record doesn't exactly match what they wrote, the British record gets thrown out. What I'm about to try and argue is the complete opposite, okay? It's the Roman records that should be thrown out. So we're really going for the throat tonight. Okay, so Tacitus, or Tacitus, he's supposed to have lived in the 1st century, as we know, and he's one of the main sources. He's at the bedrock of Roman history. The bizarre thing is, there are no medieval references to his work. It just seems to have vanished. And of course the question is, where did it go? And how did it reappear? And that's what we're going to get on to in a minute. So, there's this huge gap, alright? And it's a huge gap. Remember now, when we're looking at British records, oh god, off the top of my head, I shouldn't do things off the top of my head, but Nennius, supposed to be written about, so Gildas was contemporary with Arthur, supposed to be writing in the 6th century. There's copies from the 8th, 9th century. Nennius is in dispute because there's a couple of 100 years between the oldest copy and when he's supposed to have been around. So the oldest copies are 1,000+ years old, but still people like to throw doubt and call them wrong because they don't match the Romans. The weird thing is, Tacitus, his main work is called The History. Look it up, it's the big thing. Nothing is known about this book. It's not referred to by anyone before the 14th century. So when you've got, this gets good, I tell you. So when you've got historians, let's get this right way around. So say you've got Nennius, people say, he's obviously referring to Gildas. And then you see another book from medieval times, like Anglo-Saxon Chronicle even. Some of that they'll say, he must have read Gildas, or he must have read Nennius. You can see where the histories have been referenced by books written in medieval times, for want of a better word, 11th, 12th centuries. None of that happens with Tacitus. It's supposed to be the greatest work about ancient history. No other historians reference it. It's not mentioned anywhere. Where did this book come from, eh? So Fomenko's proposition is that the books of Tacitus are written in medieval times. Actually, it could be later than that. That's him being generous. And actually edited in the 16th and 17th centuries, okay? So, we've got a slight problem. Tacitus is supposed to have lived in the 1st century, so round it up and say he wrote about 100 AD. But you don't find anything of his work for another 1,500 years. And yet this is supposed to be the gold standard of historical records. And people like Gildas, where there's a couple of 100 years gap sometimes with the oldest copies, because, manuscripts do need recopying, but is referenced by other historians, is considered dubious. So try and square that circle. Sorry about this page. This is one you can really, just to show this isn't just Fomenko, and it's not just me, and it's not just Wilson and Blackett. I don't expect anyone to read this off the page now, but if you want to pause and have a look later, if you can just jump first paragraph, second paragraph, third paragraph, fourth. So you can see my mouse there down the bottom. I'm just going to read a little bit. So what's happened is Hockart and Ross, I think it was 1890s, they showed how the forgery was done. They did analysis on the documents. They showed none of it could be more than 15th century. There's no originals. There's these very dodgy characters called Poggio and Nicolai, who I'll tell you about in a second. So, and I found the new word today as well, so I'm going to share with you. So, maybe you know the word, I didn't know it. So the mouse has vanished down here, so it's going to read a little bit. So Hockart and Ross are out reading all their book again. They said, no, it's a forgery, it's not ancient. And we think we know who wrote it. This is the key thing. We know who did write Tacitus, when he wrote it, and what sources they used. So how about them? How about that? Right, so I'm just going to read this little bit here. So P. Hockart and J. Ross's works were encountered by historians with animosity and caused a scandal. By the way, P. Hochart, who is French, I believe, first became suspicious of Tacitus's text only after he had discovered that the well-known fragment of the annals about the Christians was either a forgery or an insertion. Hochart's conclusions found the support of certain specialists. And you can read on about this. The point was they'd already been busted once. This is the key thing. Nicolai and Poggio had already been caught, or Poggio definitely, forging documents already. They got busted. They had to retract the documents. I don't know if they actually apologised, but how they got away with it. So the reaction of the science or the mainstream community was this new word I love. Yeah, you can just about see it on your screen. I don't even know how to say it. Obmuticent. Obmuticent. Oh, I see, mute. It says muted in the middle, doesn't it? Oh, it's easy. Obmuticent. It was just me being a bit slow. So this became mute or silent. They could not... None of the classic academics, mainstream scholars, could not actually dispute any of the information they came forward with. So after originally doing the usual tactics that we have to put up with, Wilson and Blackett has to put up with, Velikovsky, we just attack the people. These are really bona fide academics we couldn't really attack, so they just went quiet. And sure enough, it's been forgotten. You know, Fomenko's picked up on it. I hadn't heard about it. Had you heard about it? This huge scandal about the ancient Roman documents. Right, so just do a little bit. So there's a little bit of background, okay, just quickly. So Poggio Bracciolini, give me of Italian, there we are. He had this wonderful lifestyle, okay, and he was wanted to build himself a palace in Florence, Firenze, and he was considered to be the mastermind of his century. He's the only one who could understand all these ancient documents and stuff. He could write fluent Latin in different styles. He prided himself that he could outdo the ancients and write better Latin than they could in their style. So it's not a secret, okay? Poggio founded a studio of sorts that occupied itself with the edition of the ancient texts, having engaged a large number of partners on counter-agents, very educated ones. The point was he built up his living costs enormously. So he had to raise vast sums of money. Now the great thing for him was the Renaissance was the time when the banking was getting going and there was incredible wealth in Italy. So he sold what he claimed to be originals. Well, actually, he didn't. He was quite clever. They would find originals which would never be found in Italy. They'd always be found a long way away, like in Sweden or Germany or something like that. And he would make then his faithful copies, because one of the problems he had to explain was, say he gets an order from, who was one of his customers, Duke d'Este, who sold one document for 100 ducats, which is 1,200 francs, and that was enough to buy himself a great big house at the library. We're talking proper money here, and staff it as well. So he was selling these pre-made copies. Because the problem is, you go to you and I say, hey, guess what? I've just discovered this monk. He's up in Germany, Essen or Trieste or one of these places. He's got this ancient document, found it stuffed away in a dusty cellar, and for some reason it hasn't decayed or rotted in 2,000 years, or 1,500 years, sorry. This is 500 years ago. And I can get it for you. Would you like it? Yes, please. Give me a load of money. And then for some reason, it would always take a year and a half or even 2 years for the document to appear. Because, of course, he had to, the accusation is he was forging them and he had to make them up. Part of his cover story was he made copies. You never got the original. You only got a copy by his hand. No originals. And the originals actually disappeared, all right? There are no terrible fire or something, or they just disappear. So I just mentioned it. So we go to the discovery of Tacitus's books. The main copies of Tacitus's works, the so-called first and second Medician copies, are kept in Florence, in a book storage which had Poggio amongst its founders. How convenient. You can't access this book. It's in a secret storage set up by Poggio. The guy who found it gave it to Nicolai, who then sold it on to his expensive or wealthy patrons. According to the chronology, these copy types are the prototypes of all the other ancients of Tacitus. It's all down to this one copy, which might well be a forgery. There's one thing I also want to say on this. How we do for time? Yeah, because, all right. If you missed the start of the football, I do apologise, but I think this is more important. And nothing happens to these two teams the first half an hour. They just put 7 defenders each. Anyway, right. So I was going to read from the book now, okay? So remember, this is someone making a point, so it's not the only point of view on this, but it's good reading. So, I don't need that on screen, I don't think. What am I going to put? Here we go. How did it... It's like, gosh, it's almost like it was organised. I want to go over to me for a second. It's a bit of a dull screen to look at. Right. So how did the discovery of Tacitus really occur? In November 1425, Poggio notified Nicolai in Florence from Rome that some monk was offering him a batch of old manuscripts, including several works of Tacitus unknown to us. Now, a lot of this, the correspondence still exists. You can see the letters going back and forth. What Hockart and Ross spotted was that the dating had been fiddled on some of them. So what they were doing, they would make the second one appear first, and they changed the date to their correspondence to provide evidence. It's quite sophisticated fraud, but it does seem to have been a fraud. Right. However, the actual purchase takes several months for some reason. Poggio, this is a quote now, Poggio procrastinates, giving different excuses. He gives a rather meandrous answer to Nicolai's inquiry that only makes clear the fact that he had not yet been in possession of the Tacitus book. In what concerns the monk, Poggio blatantly lies and appears confused. The monk is allegedly a friend of his, but for some reason failed to have visited Poggio whilst in Rome. The books were in Hersfeld, but had to be collected in Nuremberg, etc. Nicolai demanded the book catalogue discovered by Poggio. Give me the list of the documents at least. We can't have the documents. Give me the list you mentioned, all right? And he was getting rather irritated. It turned out that there were no works of Tacitus in the catalogue. So he gives him the list, and he said, where's the Tacitus on there? It's not even on the list, all right? Such strange rigmarole of miscomprehensions that look clearly artificial marks the years 1427 and 1428. Finally, Poggio notifies Nicolai in 1428 that the mysterious monk has arrived in Rome again, but without any book. So this goes on and on and on and on. Okay, I'd love to do it. I could talk for hours now. So, so now this gets even more interesting. All right. So we got no records of any writings by Tacitus. There's no Tacitus. It's not on the list. This is the real. Well, anyway, right. The almost quinquennial procrastination led to the situation where Poggio's discovery had been made public prior to having actually been made. The problem is he's told everyone, I've got this amazing writer called Tacitus. He doesn't have any books and there's no writer, okay? And many strange rumours were surrounding it. The latter made Nicolai worry greatly, right? So he's like, I've told everyone we got this stuff and this Tacitus is the bedrock. You don't have it. It's not on the list. What's going on? Right. Poggio replied, I know all the songs that are sung in this respect. So this is what I'll do. Once Cornelius Tacitus arrives, I shall hide him well from strangers. So one would think, as Hockart justly remarks, that the most natural protection of the manuscript from vicious rumours would be to make it public and say, here it is, look, have a look. What he does instead is he hides it. So I'm not sure he's talking about the person there, or he's talking... Later in the book, I can't go too long on this, but later in the book you will see how a lot of the characters portrayed in ancient Rome are actually people from the Renaissance. Their names are the same. There is a Tacitus. The father of Scaliger was called Julius Caesar. I tell you, the whole thing absolutely stinks. And so Hockart's the opinion of the letters, that the dates of the letters are counterfeited. The whole thing is a right-run thing. Right, I was going to say, just jump forward a bit now. No, just go forward a bit. Hockart is of the opinion that Poggio had been alone when he began the forgery, but was probably soon forced to engage Nicolai as well. They must have planted the so-called second Medician copy first, holding the first one back, hoping to skin the same steer twice. However, the market had been addled by a great number of exposed forgeries. It's going on all the time. You got all these bankers becoming rich, and they all want to justify their family trees and their wealth and all this. Vast sums of money can be made. There were loads and loads of forgeries. These were just the best of it. So Poggio refrained from risking it the second time. He's like, hey, we're not going to push it twice, all right? So the first copy must have entered circulation by proxy of his son, Giovanni Francesco, after he had stolen his father's fortune. I mean, what a bunch. they're all backstabbing and robbing each other. I mean, this is the era of, this kind of Renaissance, crazy, debauched, dreadful Renaissance world. And you can go on then. You got the same with Livy. You got the same with Plutarch. All these Roman writers. Now, you might say this is all bunkum. It's not true, but there are some very, very big. Sorry, let's leave that. Huge gaps. But most noticeably, I mean, if you look at Caesar, there's nothing ancient from Caesar around. There's not even a record of it being a copy of a copy until about 1300, which is over 1,000 years after the event, in fairness. So, like I say, these rules are applied to British. I wish I could see all the... all right, here we go. All right, oh, there we are. Look at that. Oh, it's an ugly page. Oh, you can't even see it because you are... There you go. So this is something which I'm sure a lot of you have been familiar with. Because I should go back one first, shouldn't I? I'm supposed to set this up and get people thinking a bit. So the question is, these guys were not smart. These guys were smart, so they're incredibly smart. They were geniuses. They were brilliant at writing Latin. They knew their ancient history. There's stories in the book there where he went away for a few years to study and really learn it inside out, what he could find. So the question is, what was he using? They don't do this in this flamenco. This is my edition. What were they using to create the forgeries? Because the problem is, books like that, they don't recognise the fact that it was British or Welsh records either. He does talk a bit about Gildas and Nennius in Volume 4, but not really. It doesn't really go into it or treat it as a genuine thing. So if you were Tacitus, if you were Poggio or Nicolai and you were doing your forgeries, you got to get your information from somewhere. You got to base it on something. All right. So where would they have gone? Well, this is where we turn the whole thing around. So if people in this group will know about the work of Wilson and Blackett, books like Arturius Rex, and this table is repeated again in the Where Jesus is Buried because it's relevant to that. This is the point all the way around, long way around, to say that was there a Roman invasion at all? And what you have here on the left is the British king. There's a column called the British kings, who we got our independent records from. There are stones. We've got solid evidence, okay? So let's say we're now carving all these stones and burying them and things. So you've got gravestones, you've got memorial stones, you've got the records in the charters, you've got corroborating evidence. There's no corroborating evidence for people like Tacitus and Livy and that. There is no physical evidence, okay? Apart from some fake statues, it would seem. I know, it's painful, it's a lot to take in. I'm sure there's people there... I dread to think what people are thinking. Right, okay, another thing I meant to mention. One of the reasons, by the way, we've got all the Italian stuff tonight is it's not an anti-English thing at all, right? And we come on to the English in a second. It's Angie, clever girl she is, she actually studied in Italy. So, first few languages are Oriental, and then learning English and Italian and all that kind of stuff. And Andy's sister is still living in Firenze, in Florence. And her husband is a very prominent, imagine this for family parties, a very prominent Italian history academic. You couldn't make it up, could you? And one of the things he does, he takes people tours. Like when we were in Firenze last, he showed the boys around one of the domos and the art and the statues. So it's like living stock. And he tells one joke he tells, which is, he says, one thing him and his colleagues, his fellow... he is as mainstream as you can get, by the way. He'd never watch this programme. So I can say what I like. He is so mainstream. And as you'd expect, he's a professor of history from Florence. And he's Italian. So one of the things he says is that there's a joke with him and his historians. If all this Roman stuff is being found all around the world, why is none of it in Rome? Why is none of it in Italy? They don't find much in Italy. So everything you find, as we know, Mead, you find a wall, you find anything in Britain is considered Roman. Well, why isn't there so much Roman stuff actually in Italy? It's a bit of a running joke. Why they did it everywhere else? Maybe they didn't, eh? That's maybe why they don't find it. So if you haven't seen this list before, on the left we got the list of British kings. And then you have this bizarre parallel history where the same kings appear. Well, they're proposed as the same kings. They've got the same stories. They've got very similar names. They're the same dates. You know, if one was, a great warrior, the parallel one's a great warrior. If one died young, the other one died young. If one was corrupt, the other one's corrupt. So the question has been, did these same people have two names? Or I am proposing now as a new theory, adding on to the work of these colossuses, is it a fact this whole list might have been invented in Renaissance times? And that's the true names, the British kings. They had to find the history from somewhere to invent all this. You can't just forge from nothing. So one way to do it was this. And then, I'm not going to go through the whole thing again tonight, but the whole idea of the Roman invasion then, it doesn't stand up, because they've negotiated. You got Cerdi, the capital, city of the agreement, where Hadrian in 125, 126 AD made an agreement with the British to say, right, you run the empire because we got no royalty left. So that ties in with the British records. All right, so there we go. Pays your money, takes your choice. But when people throw stones at British history, so you can throw some stones back. And there's another thing. These are all British kings who have Roman equivalents who were emperor. All right, let's turn the guns quickly now on to the Saxons, because this is not going to take very long. So I'm going to show... sorry, some funny comments. I can't keep up with everything. He's off to have his pizza. Right, so this is a brilliant book. I mentioned it before. I haven't really talked about it in detail. Kath gave Lent. I'm going to get it back. Going to see her again soon. She says she's got some new stuff to show me. Brilliant new book. But this is The Early History of the Cymry by Reverend Roberts. And this is published in, I can see, hopefully you can, 1803. Oh, it's very small there. Hang on. I'll give you a chance. 1803, Reverend Roberts. Wonderful book. It's quite a thick book, but it's not that many pages. You know, it's got these old-fashioned leaf. They just got a wonderful feel to them, and it's all been hand-stitched and made. And it's a gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous book. Now, I'm going to cut. I know we're cutting off to kick off in a minute, but this is brilliant. This book is brilliant, all right? There's a few things in the beginning about the Romans and that which I think are slightly overcooked. But it's like old history books all used to do before everything got rewritten. Is that it talks... What I like about this book, it talks greatly from Welsh sources. And this is the point at the beginning of the programme I was talking about. I don't care if you disagree on some of the interpretations and you think this should be read differently or we got that bit wrong. It's not a problem. What I do find difficult to accept is when the whole thing is thrown out and won't count. You can't use it. You know, it's just rubbish, this kind of nonsense you get. It's just myth, legends, rubbish. Well, it's got an awful lot better provenance than anything other history you look at in the world. I'd love to do a series on China's hidden history one of these days, because you've got a similar thing there, and Taiwan is fantastic. But you see there, they have a year zero policy, and it's an accepted thing that when you start a new regime or dynasty, Angie's explained all this to me, one of the first things you do then is you get historians in and you rewrite all the history, and that's year zero and off you go again. It wasn't a new idea by Mao, that's rewrites of Chinese history were regular. So there, once you start digging in, you got stuff which we think, you know, Chinese history, uninterrupted, records going back thousands of years. That's another can of worms. Which you find is rather fascinating, because when you start digging, you can see where some of it was made up, or, that's not fair to say that. A new spin put on things, let's be generous, eh? But also you can see chunks of history that are missing. So this isn't just a British thing, alright? This happens, basically this is how you run an empire. If you want to run an empire, first thing you'll do is control the narrative, destroy the history, alright? And then control what people think through doing that. Then you control the language, you change what words are acceptable, how words can be used. I mean, George Orwell's read 1984, and if you read it, read it again, because it's all in there. This is how you do things, all right? I'd also like to quote Cicero, who says, I always miss out a key part of it. But anyway, the basic gist of it is, you know, if we have no knowledge of our past, and we forever remain as children, because what is our body without our history being woven into that of our ancestors? Something like that. Okay, anyway, I'm right. I've got to set the scene a bit with this one, because we haven't got time to read the whole book. And I do know how you get a copy. What this one, what is very, very convincing, this book relies a lot on the triads and goes all the way through and explains how Britain was run and how the country works, how the laws work, how the kings work, and how the history goes. And it's wonderful. Now, this is a different angle than I've ever seen before, even though this book was written in 1803. And in here is a very different explanation of why the Lloegrians became part, or the English, the Lloegrians, the native Britons who lived in England. God, see, words are difficult, aren't they? How they became part of the Anglo-Saxon kingdom. How can we square the circle where modern archaeology and the work of Francis Pym and various other people show no signs of a conflict or a war? So how did the Anglo-Saxons swallow up these British kingdoms? You got Wilson and Blackett with the comet, and we're going to bring a book out on that soon to give all the evidence of the comet, the desolation that was done. That doesn't seem to get mentioned in this book, unless I've missed it. But the key part, this is 1803, so kind of a bit unfashionable. There's a different argument in here. Now, the way this person describes Britain in those days is, it doesn't mention Scotland much, but I'm assuming you have the Alban in Scotland. We also got British up there in Strathclyde. But in England, you've got the Lloegrians, the British. So the main tribes, the Iceni, the Coriani, and the Deprobantes. Oh, sorry, North Wales. But, you know, that's the main thing, okay? But the Cymry were the top dogs. This is the point. The Cymry were a kind of like a ruling class. So other people have been allowed to come in and settle, smaller groups. You know, England is a right patchwork quilt of, you know, from various migrations. And they were sort of held under sufferance. And you see this backed up a bit in the work of Wilson and Blackett in Arthur the War King, where he parades around the whole country, letting them know who the boss is. So if you want to be the High King, you had to be Cymry. If you wanted to be, I think, a Druid or something like that, you had to be Cymry. It was almost like a caste system where the Cymry kept themselves aloof and aloft. And what this book argues then is this had the effect of creating a resentment by the Lloegrians that they had been treated as subservient people. It seems ironic in the modern world when all the years of suppression of the Welsh, but this is the way this book portrays the situation. And then this is why there was so much, why the Romans had an easy ride in the south of England. They never got into Wales, by the way, apart from the Caerleon base, but that's another story. What they did manage to do, and Caradoc's in here and the resistance, but they did find willing accomplices who were prepared to go over and help the Romans in England. And this happened even more so with the Saxons. Now this seems to me make an awful lot of logical sense. I just need to make sure I get the right page. Oop, hang on. I should just read that, 117, because I put these notes on the screen. Right. Now, this might sound like it's going to be a bit racist to start with, but it's actually the opposite if you follow it on. It's not an anti-immigration thing. No, you can see how it works anyway. Let's try and avoid modern politics, even though it's just entwined in politics, you can't avoid it. But let's just read this book, 1803, okay? So, in Britain, as one of the triads observes, a principal cause of the injuries the Cymry sustained was the admission of foreigners. But this is expressed too generally, nor does it reach the source of the evil. It's like very modern sounding, isn't it? It was not so much the admission as the aversion to incorporating them in the body of the state, or dispersing them so as to prevent its being injured by a defection. So when I say did not integrate the immigration, you should either spread them around, so there's a few everywhere, or made them part of the state, but you can't create little mini kingdoms in your own kingdom. Ghettoization, I think we call it in the modern world. This not being done, the Lloegrian and Coranian, he talks a lot about the Corani in there, I think in the north of England, Corani colonies, was so situated as to be ready to join the Romans and in later times the Saxons, in the hopes of increasing their own power. They betrayed the British. Though it is a truism in politics that they who are thus made the tools of a greater power are in fact its first victims, because they forfeit all confidence beyond convenience. Oh, I actually typed this in, didn't I? I should have put that on screen, shouldn't I? Beyond convenience. And it was thus the Iceni or Iceni and Tribobantes became the most wretched under the Romans. Under the Saxons, their very names became extinct, save in the annals of those whom they had ungratefully deserted and betrayed. So there's a wonderful tragic irony there that they betrayed the Cymry because they were treated as second-class citizens. They went over to the enemy or the invader, who promised them a better life or whatever it was they promised them. So this would then explain why there's no fighting with the Angles and Saxons. There's no invasion or conquer or absorption. They just went, yeah, we'll go with these guys. We can get a better deal than we always used to do. Which is, and we wouldn't even know about these peoples if it wasn't for the ancient writings of the Cymry, because they're the ones who had all the written records and the ancient annals and stuff. So as it says there, even their name would be lost if it weren't for the people they actually betrayed and deserted. There's a little bit more. If this was an error, it was not peculiar to the Cymry. The Greeks and Romans were no less tenacious of the privilege of a citizen of Athens and Rome than the Cymry of those of their nation. In the defection of those who were not of it, to the common fate of other nations so circumstanced, they had the additional grievance of the ingratitude of the peaceable settlers to complain of.
Are we supposed to be seeing that on the screen? The bit you're
No. So, and you can read more about that then. So, I'll just say a little bit. He goes on and explain that. So I guess just read a bit more. Go on again. So, by the inference from later times, when the sovereignty had lost its effectual power, applied to preceding ages, so the Cymry have now lost their control of Britain. They're no longer the Britons, if you like. Much, if not all, of the success of the Romans has been, even by respectable writers, attributed to internal dissension among the Britons themselves. So there's the problem. They couldn't unite, and as soon as they had a chance, the Romans are very good at this. Find a disaffected second son, that kind of thing. So that the law of grapple kind, however apparently just in its principle, was most pernicious, where states were subjected to it, and multiplied dissensions is admitted. But there is sufficient evidence that in opposing the inroads of a foreign power, the Cymry were in general as firmly united as any other state that has been on such occasions. There are few nations, if any, that maintained a contest longer against oppression, none that having struggled through so much has so preserved itself and attained to such a degree of felicity as it enjoyed. So there you go. So hope you get the gist of that. Maybe we'll talk more about that when I like to see the comments. So they're it's coming to the end now. So the Finny, I don't know if is that right for Italian? I use a bit of Italian. It's 8 o'clock, so we finished on time, my goodness. I don't want to finish, but here we are. I'll read the comments. Oh, Arnie, please ask your dad to tell us the name of the book exposed. All right, well.
I think is it the flamenco book?
Oh, thank you. This is a heavy book, all right? Thank you, Arnie. Good job it's not a hardback. Just clonked myself on the forehead. So this is flamenco, which you can get these online. And the previous historian, I'll put it in the notes, all right? Because it's...
Spoiling. Oh, I think they're joking.
England has scored. We've just scored.
I think they're joking. I don't know.
They might have done. Just kicked off. Oh, well, never mind. I was going to do some predictions. I'm not going to bother now. Right, so the question I was going to end this with, so I saw a very funny comment on Facebook, and it says, come on, I said, Welsh people, let's stop being childish. It's time to be mature. The invasion was a long, long time ago. It's time to forgive and forget. We can't hold a grudge against the Italians forever. It's brilliant. Because loads of people only read the first bit, and they've dived in on one of these Welsh sites, and they've dived in, bloody English and all this, and it's like, great. It's a great setup, the way he worded it. So, we're proposing here the Romans not have an empire at all. How weird is that? There's certainly nothing really extant from the period to really substantiate that, to use technical jargon. But hey-ho, everyone loves the Romans and Greeks. The problem is, the way Wilson Blackett explained it, which I agree with, is that when they deleted all of British history and made it inaccessible, and this is like Bishop Stubbs and Edwin Guest, sorry, then a void, so the Dark Ages would hide, they could use that to cover 400 or 500 years, but not everything, which is why we study Greek and Romans. If you go, especially go to a posh school, you learn Greek literature, Roman literature, and all our battleships and soldiers are named after Greek heroes, not British heroes. Because the people doing this weren't Greek, they were Anglo-Saxon supremacists. But there you go, and that's the end of it. I hope you enjoyed that show. Oh, there we go. Yes, that was definitely the end. That was the last slide. And just let everyone get away from the football.
So apparently England scored.
Really?
Apparently. So.
Oh, I definitely don't watch it now. I know you're winding me up now, all right?
I hope it is.
Yes, Susanna, yeah, it is. Oh, yeah, I'm glad you asked about, because next week, Arnie and I, the reason he's got all this gear on, all this Ferrari gear and everything,
We will be away next.
is we're away next Sunday. We're going to, what time does the Grand Prix finish?
It finishes at 4.
So it finishes at 4 o'clock near Nottingham,
We want to stay for a bit, and we'll be back by like 7, and you won't have anything prepared. Actually, we'll be back later than 7, so you want to stay for a bit.
It might be back in time for 8 o'clock. It might be late next week. I'm sorry to mess about the times. This is show number 62. I think 61. What show is it? 61? Yeah, 61. And 59 of the previous ones are on the same slot. So I say we try our best. But this week we had to go early because of the football. And next week we're at Silverstone watching the Formula 1. So I hope we're back in time. And what I'm going to do, if not, I'm going to try and pre-record something that will go up. Angie will have to sort it out. She doesn't know yet. She's probably hearing this now in the other room. What do you mean I'm going to sort it out? And we'll put that up. So there'll be something. But if we're on our way back, Angie will post delays to say what time it's likely to go up. So I'm sorry about tonight if you didn't get the message in time. I did try my best. Yeah, get a Ferrari to drive us back. Yeah, brilliant. All right, well, thank you very much, everybody. I'm dying to read all the comments. There's really busy comments tonight. It looks like some great conversations. And I would love to know what people think about this idea of how flaky is Roman history. So next time someone says, well, you know, whatever, Nennius or someone, or are you going to play? Go on, I'm going to have to go play with that. Yeah, interest in neutrality. I didn't know you haven't played that. He hasn't played that before. This could go wrong.
I didn't know the full thing.
Yeah, you missed out the middle. That's all right. Not bad without the music.
How's the middle thing?
We have to send her victorious, happy and glorious, bound to reign over us. La 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 la. So I'm sorry if you missed it from the beginning. It is a boring anthem, unfortunately, but there you go. So right, so we're gonna if England are 1-0 up, I might be back in about 5 minutes. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us, and thank you very much again to the Patreons for making all this possible. If you haven't signed up, please do, and grab a book, all that kind of stuff, and remember to subscribe and tell other people. All right, Rosso, I just read your email. I'll get back to you. Thank you, Anthony. Oh no, boo boo! Everyone's upset now. I'm upset now as well. I need to have my dinner as well. Okay, so what can we do? Arnie, should put some. All right, I'll leave the comments open, and I can only apologise. And thank you very much. Oh, we had so many people on as well. Oh, right. Okay, well, enjoy the rest of your Sunday evenings and singing the alto part and standing up. Very good, Marshall. Very good. Marshall is singing the English anthem and standing to do so, okay? That's quite right. Very good. Just leave it running. Don't have a telly. All right, so I give you updates. I'm going to tell you. No, we haven't got a telly either. That's the problem. I have to use this to try and find out how to watch it. Need my email. My email, Ross. Oh, you just read my email. Okay. Turn up the radio. We don't have a radio either, do we? I got a radio in the bedroom upstairs. Give me the radio down.
I don't want to listen to it.
I think Arnie wants to watch it anyway, alright?
If that's the case, I'll go off and watch something.
It means to be cool. I would play. This program's not cool.
Alright,
okay, well, thank you very much, everybody.
Cool in its own unique way.
And there'll be a lot more videos going up during the week, alright? So please look out for those. And I'd love, please put some comments in there. Give some feedback. What do you think about this idea that, I guess what I'm trying to say is that Roman history might have been imported and created to fill the void from deleting all our history. Alright? So, And what do you think about that theory that the reason the Saxons were able to pick up England is because the English were fed up of being persecuted by the Welsh? Which I don't know why I find very, very funny. It's not funny at all, is it? But it is kind of, the whole world's upside down, isn't it? Italia. Right, okay, until, no one say goodbye. All right, till next week then, okay. I got to say goodbye and Heather. Are you going to play us out again, Arnie B?
With what?
What should we have to finish? Do you play a bit of, sounds like the Italians need a bit of help by the sound of it.
Okay, should I play it again?
Play their dreary anthem out of tune, Arnie. There we are. Play the dreary anthem out of tune. I assume he means the English anthem. No, just play it out of tune without trying. I was like, I have to introduce Arnie to Les Dawson. God save the Queen. Very good, very good.
Thank you.
You get arrested for that now, right? Yeah, sunny, sad and funny, and not so mutually exclusive, yes. Right, okay, I'll put that up there now. And North Star, and till the next time, Heather. Oh, Gary's here as well, yeah. What do you have to say to Gary?
Oh, it was for Darren. Ooh up!
Ooh up, that's like giving ooh up, isn't it? Alright, like you, like Les Dawson, yeah. Alright, good night all. Heather. Oh, everyone wants to stay. Oh, wrong button. Try again. No. Oh, got the wrong button. Ah, got it right eventually. Play it properly.
Oh, I hit your chair.
Hit my chair. Sorry, that's my fault. Yeah, so look out for updates for next week, okay? Because we're not sure what time we can do. Oh, and also comment if Monday would be better. That's better. He did his exam a couple of weeks ago, so he had some time off. Oh, another thing I wanted to show you as well. Oh, there was another thing I wanted to show. Have you got the football on? Have England really scored? No one knows. No one knows. All right, we gotta go then. Okay, no time. I'll leave the comments running. Bye. Football. Oh man, you know my commentaries on football. I tell you. Funny you should mention that though. God, I should be going now, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
No, I don't know how to.
it's only this computer we can use, isn't it? We are stuck, really. But I have been doing rugby videos of Arnie with commentaries. They're quite funny. And I did want to show a. I can't show the photograph. We'll show the photographs next time. You see Arnie in action, because you all know Arnie now. All right, then. Definitely. Good night. Okay.
Goodbye.
Adios,
monster.
Trippier set piece. Donnarumma comes and claims, and he can do that. Now England have to be careful of the counter-attack being led through the middle by Immobile. Referee said that was a dive.
Well, by the reaction of Immobile, he was right. He looked almost embarrassed.
And it's not the first time. Sterling. Shaw, sending Mount down the left. Zipping into the box is Sterling, and Mount is challenged by clubmate Jorginho.